Hello everyone, I'm Captain Logan, and welcome to the brand new Comic Book Late Night Unlimited. This is a surreal moment for me, finally coming back to new comic talk, something I honestly didn't know if I would ever end up doing again. I mean, occasionally I would walk into a shop and dabble and buy comics that looked kind of interesting and get cool covers, especially, and I knew there was some cool stuff happening, especially the last few years, but I was just off my radar. I was somewhat disenchanted with the industry in general several years ago, around 2016, 2017, and I kept a pull list for a couple of years, and finally, around COVID, when I couldn't leave my house and go to a comic shop, I started getting a lot more interested in tabletop gaming, which is a thing I never thought I would get into, and a lot of my entertainment dollars were going to that, and that ended up eventually completely superseding comics entirely. And so I would, again, sometimes go back and gap fill old stuff, and especially go back and get Bronze and Silver Age stuff when I could. And so I've continued to collect comics. That has continued to be an interest and a passion of mine. But lately, I have not been able to help, because of a confluence of a few different things that have happened in my life, but get back into current. This feels like just the best time it's been in a while, and I know I'm not alone. I know the industry has been getting kind of a boon lately, kind of a boost, starting arguably with the absolute DC line, and I think there was kind of a peak of interest again from some of us that had left with both the big two, to be totally fair. Although I think DC is firing on more cylinders right now still than Marvel is, particularly with mainline stuff. But both of them, people have been getting more curious about because of more off the beaten path stuff. Because of standalone books and things that Black Label has been doing, and especially new Ultimate over at Marvel with Ultimate Spider-Man, and then they've got a bunch of Ultimate books that people are interested in now. I haven't looked at any of that stuff apart from the first issue of Ultimate Spider-Man when that started. But recently, a couple of big things got me curious and started me hilariously, shockingly getting a pull list again, which is a thing I never thought I would do. When I started buying new a couple months ago, month and a half ago, a couple months ago, I really thought I was going to be able to keep myself just to walking in on Wednesday and buying 3 or 4 books off the shelf. And I'm still going to try to stick to that number as far as collecting new. The nice thing is we live in a day and age now where it's really easy to keep up with things digitally, and there are services that let you get things not too far after initial release, which we didn't have years ago when I got out. And I don't mind reading digitally. I've gotten to where I got for a while there to where I actually kind of preferred it. And then I started buying current again and cracking books open, and I was like, oh yeah, this is a different experience, isn't it? Like, the size of it's different. There's just something about holding a book in your hand. So I can go back and forth. I like both. But I thought I was going to be able to keep myself to the few series that I really, really wanted to collect all of, and mostly that would be miniseries and things, and then, like I said, just really neat covers of things and issues that represent my love for a series that I would then maybe collect later and trade, unless I decided just to buy it in digital. And wouldn't you know it, I've already got 8 or 9 things at least on my pull list. And I don't know what exactly I'm going to do moving forward, because I'm worried I'm going to get myself in a place where I'm spending more money than I want to on comics. But that is the best compliment I can pay to just the industry overall right now, is I'm back in a place where I really want to get stuff. And so the big things that got me interested in all of this again were Absolute Batman. That was a big one, because I expected to not like that at all. Somebody requested it. No, it wasn't requested. It was just a thing that Austin had looked at and wanted us to review, and I was curious about it, so he went ahead and picked it on the Comic Vault show, which, by the way, I will continue to do on top of this show. on Mondays when we don't have new movies to review. So this last week we did Jurassic World Rebirth. Next week we're going to do Superman. So this will be a month with fewer new, or I shouldn't say new, but comic deep dive analysis streams. But I will continue to try to keep this going as long as there seems to be some interest in it. By the way, welcome live. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for watching after the fact. If you're doing that, I haven't even been looking at the comments yet. I just thought I would do a little bit of a preamble and an introduction for this new series and tell you why the hell I'm back talking about new comics in 2025 when I haven't done pull list videos or comic news or anything like that, apart from just occasional little comic news stories on the Captain Logan show, which will also continue, but has been on hiatus. And I should say real quick, tomorrow night, Austin and I, later, probably around 9 Central, are going to finally do our DCEU ranking video, our post-DCEU Mania video, in lieu of the Captain Logan show. So I will try to bring that back next week. But anyway, so it was Absolute Batman, which I was shocked to enjoy as much as I did. And starting to shop at a new comic shop here in town that I just absolutely adore and really want to support them, and Space Ghost. I reviewed that the week after Absolute Batman and was also really impressed with that. I've got some issues of that I just bought that I'll show you a little bit later. I got some covers that I mentioned I was really hoping to get my hands on, and I was out of town this last week, and I found some of them, and so I'll show those a little bit later. This stream will probably be longer than these will usually be because I've got a lot of stuff to go through. In fact, I stacked up a number of things I wanted to show you guys. I'll do this in a segment a little bit later, but I actually bought a ton more than this over the last few weeks. I've sold some stuff. I did some trade-ins of things I just didn't need to hang on to, and a new collection that I bought out that I sold my shop finally, the remainder of the stuff that I didn't need to keep. So if you're wondering if I spent just a fortune on the books I've got stacked up that I'll show you over the next couple of weeks, I didn't. Some of it was kind of free money, but I've spent a little bit too. Anyway, so I'm going to later on show you guys mostly new books that have come out in the last few weeks, kind of playing catch up from the last time I did a new acquisitions video, and now that I'm going to do this, hopefully, weekly show. And then I've got some recent back issues from before that, and then just a few notable, much older back issues that are just neat and I want to show you. And then I've got a ton more stuff. I just got a bunch of Power Rangers in yesterday. I'm not even going to go through that today. I've got so much else to show you, so I'll try to show you that next week. But I bought the majority of the zombie covers that came out in the last 22 issues of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and those are super neat, and I got a decent deal on those, so I'll show you those next time. But even with all of that, that I'm going to wait on, I'm still going to have a lot to talk about tonight. So I'm going to split this up into 3 segments each week, and we'll try this out, see how it goes. So here in a minute, I'm going to go through books that are coming out tomorrow. We're going to be doing this on Tuesday, and then as I'm broadcasting, we'll probably see midnight, and especially if you're on the East Coast, but even here, and then we'll be into Wednesday. We'll be into New Comic Day, and you'll see some issues that you might be interested in running to your local comic shop. Support your local comic shop. I'll be saying that again now. And let me also say that if you ever happen to be in my area, out on Metcalf and 151st Street, thereabouts, is this wonderful little new store that's been around for about a year, maybe a little longer, called Nerdstalgia. And I love those guys. They're great. I was going to talk to them about trying to officially sponsor this show, but they don't really have an online presence, so it wouldn't really behoove them very much to do that, but I wanted to give them a plug anyway because I love them. So Nerdstalgia, it's in is that technically Overland Park, Kansas? It's in the Kansas City area. But anyway, that's where I'm going now, so quick plug for them. But I'll show you some new issues, and I haven't even looked at these myself yet, so we will together explore what's coming out tomorrow, and then I'll show you the things that I got last week that will be, and today, even a few weeks before that, that'll be our second segment. And then third segment will be a short relatively short, because you guys know me, I'm pretty long-winded. Um, uh, Spoiler-free, or at least minor spoiler review of a recent trade or miniseries, like trade of an ongoing or miniseries or graphic novel. And this time I picked it. I'm going to talk about Batman Dark Age, which was drawn by the Allreds, who I love from Silver Surfer, so I really wanted to check that out. And that is yet another Batman reimagining that plays around with and shuffles around all the tools or the toys in the toy box. And this one goes through the entirety of a Batman's life from another universe in just 6 issues, although oversized. It reads very Black Label. I don't think it actually is Black Label, but it's oversized like a lot of those are. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. And that'll be basically just to show you some art, give you the premise, tell you a little bit about how I felt about it, kind of a best thing, worst thing, sign flip kind of review. But I won't get into massive spoilers like I do on The Vault, because the point of that will be to tell you whether or not you should go read it. And I'll be doing one of those each time as well, at least when I have the time to read those things. I'm going to start what I will usually do on the show, which is to let you guys, or one of you guys, if you're so inclined, pick the next thing that I review for that segment as top super chatters. So if you'd like to leave a super chat and try to get to be the person that picks, you can leave a super chat in a dollar amount, talking about anything comic related that you want to, or just to say, hey, I want to get to pick the thing, and so here's a little bit of support. Hopefully I win. And don't feel like, of course, you have to do that. Appreciate the support for anybody who ever leaves a super chat, but there's a little bit of an incentive there if you're so inclined, and the only rule with that is I'd like it to be something that finished, so it can start earlier, but something that's finished in the last 3 years. I've been so out of the loop for so long, I'm going to go back that far. So we can go back to 2022. I'm even probably okay with 21. Just anything relatively recent that I can sample. Let me also say that as I do this, again, this will be about sampling stuff that I haven't looked at yet, so I'm going to ask you not to pick later trades of things I've reviewed already. So if you get really excited about something I'm talking about, don't request the next trade, because I want to have a lot of variety on this show, so that I and the rest of us are learning about new comics. This is not about my expertise in the medium right now. I'm rusty. I've not been looking at stuff. This is going to be about us all exploring what's happening together. I will be out of the loop on things. I will get things wrong. I'm going to be on camera, just getting back into this and sharing my journey, getting deep diving back into current and modern comics. And that's what this is all about. So I want to sample something for each of those reviews. And I've already got a couple of super chats, so let me read those right now. Dan Schneider, $2 super chat. Have you been reading Absolute Superman? What do you think? So yeah, I imagine a lot of Absolute stuff is going to come up. I have not read a ton yet with this line. I am caught up on Batman, and I want to go back and reread the first 8 issues sometime soon as that series is continuing. And let me also say that when I get into single issues, I'm not going to do full-blown reviews like I used to when I was doing new acquisitions for The Vault, and that's part of why I want to do a review of a completed story arc on this show, so that I can talk about something that is either finished or at least kind of has a beginning, middle, and an end. I found that when I was talking about singles month to month, it really kind of dulled and messed with my reviewing ability, prowess, whatever you want to call it. I like just talking about stuff in chunks all the time and never having a sense of beginning, middle, and end was really messing with me, and I didn't love doing that. So I will say a couple of things occasionally about issues I've actually read, but I don't want to get real deep into things issue to issue. When we're talking about comics that are actually a complete story, certainly I'll do a little bit more discussion and maybe even a little bit of analysis, but this is going to be a much more loosey-goosey just let's have fun talking about comics kind of show than it's going to be an analysis show. And that's why we're still going to have the vault. But anyway, to actually answer the question, yes, I've read the first couple issues of Absolute Superman. I was trying to get back to that today, but I was reading so much else I didn't get very far in. And I'm liking that so far. It feels like less of a massive reinvention than even Batman is, but I mean, still, it's real different. Minor spoilers with that, but you've got a Superman who, kind of like traditional Supergirl, was actually a teenager when Krypton blew up and remembers being a Kryptonian, which is a real different dynamic, of course, for that character. Jason Aaron is firing all cylinders with that from what I've read so far. I really like some of the social commentary he's doing in that book with artificial intelligence and how that might change the culture, and using that with a sort of somewhat John Byrne-esque Krypton, I guess. I haven't read a ton yet, but that makes a lot of sense with a civilization that is that really keeps to themselves and is letting computers think for them. And everybody's real isolated. It feels more and more like our world could be moving towards something like that. And so I really like the commentary that he's doing in that. I think it's really thoughtful and not heavy-handed at all. And the setup for Brainiac in that is really good. He seems really scary. I did, like I said, I'm buying stuff for cool covers and stuff, so I had to have the Brainiac cover because I think it's wonderful. And I also bought Absolute Batman #9 with the Bane cover. I had to have that too. I haven't decided. As you can tell, I'm real conflicted about some of my choices with this, especially because I said when we hit the $5 price tag, I'm kind of out. That prices me out, and things have been so interesting lately that I'm finding myself okay with that price tag some, but I gotta limit myself a lot more than I have in the past. So with Absolute in particular, I'm late enough to the game, and I hate that I missed Absolute Batman #1. It's in its like 8th or 9th printing now, I think. So I don't know, maybe I'll get a later printing of it just to have a single with it, but I think that those books being, or at least the couple that I've looked at so far, because I haven't looked at Wonder Woman yet, I haven't looked at Martian Manhunter yet, and I guess Flash is the other one. I haven't read any of those yet, but I'd like to get to those soon, and I'll check in with you with these shows when I get to that stuff, because I'm sure Absolute will keep coming up. Those are serialized enough that I feel like they would read and collect really great in trade, and so I might just buy those in hardcover and put them on a shelf instead of putting them in a long box. Killer Moth returns $2 super chat. Y'all's B-Man Imposter Vault got me back into comics. I'm glad to hear that. I mean, like I said, B-Man Imposter is what is gotten me back into comics. So it's, I don't know, it's really exciting, and I'm glad that I can share that with you guys. It just feels like the right time, which is really odd because I was complaining just before I got back into this stuff. Have I already been rambling for 20 minutes? I gotta get into our first segment here. I will get into the swing of this. By the way, let me also mention real quick, sorry, that I will sometimes have a co-host for this show. My buddy Chris, who is local and helped me make the Superhero Rewind movie, is real into comics as well, and he buys every Wednesday and keeps up way more than I do, and I think would be a rockin' co-host for this show. And he has agreed to do it as often as he can be here. He's really excited about it. He's out of town this week, and I wanted to go ahead and get started, so I figured I'd do this one solo. So I don't know how often I'm going to have another guy with me, but I hope you guys I enjoy Chris. I think you'll really like him, and I've been wanting him to get on a show with me for a long time. So looking forward to introducing you guys to Chris. He's real knowledgeable. He's got a lot of ins in the industry. He suggested that it might be cool to start doing some industry interviews again, and he's got some ideas for the people he might be able to help me get on the program. I haven't decided if I'm going to do that yet, but it's nice to know that there's that's available. So we'll see what happens with that. But anyway, I don't remember what I was going to say. Let's just get into the first segment, shall we? So let's look at everything that's coming out tomorrow. I'm using leagueofcomicgeeks.com. This is a good website for seeing new comics coming out each week. And this is what I used last time on the show that I did with Austin. So we got Absolute Superman number 9 coming out tomorrow. Speaking of that, Transformers number 22, which I think, so that's Skybound. I can't remember if that's supposed to be the last issue written by the current writer, or if that's not until 25. But he is almost finished with his run, and then that continuity will continue with Robert Kirkman. Which Austin suggested was probably going to be the next writer, and it turns out that he's right about that. And I think, if memory serves, Dan Mora is drawing it, which is really exciting and kicks all kinds of ass. And it's interesting that he kind of starts in the industry with Power Rangers. That's a lot of his first big work. He did Klaus right around then too, I think, and then he's coming all the way back around to do Transformers now, another big Saturday morning type thing, and that will be wonderful. I've not been buying those in singles. There is one issue I bought because I love the cover, and there's a few of those that I'm going to want to get, but I will collect that in trade because that's a wonderful book, and one of the best things going on still right now, I think. I've only read the first 2 arcs so far. Want to keep going with that. So Action has well past 1,000 and is already almost to 1,100, which is nuts. I'm not keeping up with hardly anything Marvel at all right now. So looking at Ultimate Spider-Man and Miles Morales, I'm not going to have a lot to say about like mainline 616 Marvel stuff right now. That's not to say that I'll never try anything, and if there is a book that people are really digging, let me know. The weirdest and most surreal thing about all of this to me right now is I've got, like I said, 8 or 9 books on my pull, other things that I'm really thinking about buying regularly or at least reading down the road in trade. A lot of stuff I want to read even if I don't feel the need to collect, and hardly any of it is big 2 mainstream continuity. Like, hardly any of it. And I know I'm not alone in that. Again, I think Absolute has been wonderful for people like dipping their toes back in and starting with like brand new continuities, and there's not a whole lot of commitment. And so far, and I'm sure this will change, but so far you don't even have to read any of the other Absolute books to like the one that you're reading. So again, not a crazy commitment. You could just read Batman, you could just read Superman, and they are they $5 books or $4 books? Like, yeah, they are $5 books, but if you love one, if you just love Martian Manhunter, you don't have to read the others. And I've said for the longest time they need to do something like that, and it's really neat to see that, and to see them doing kind of the ultimate model, but in a real different way, even much more reinvented than that. And I'm eating my hat on it because, as I've said before, I made fun of it real hard with the whole Nothingverse thing, as Austin likes to call it, and it turns out that it's the injection of freshness and creativity that DC needed to not just get people interested in that again, but just comics in general. I read that there's been like a 50% spike in comic sales, just in general. Or maybe that's just DC, I forget. But the important thing is Absolute seems to be sort of saving the industry right now, which is nuts. And DC was already doing good stuff with their new mainline initiative, which I reviewed some books of like a year and a half, couple years ago now, with Dan and Austin. And I'd like to get back to some of that stuff. But I'm much more interested in these out-of-continuity and alternate universe things right now. So, Miles Morales, Batman and Robin 23, I don't know what's happening in that book. Dark Patterns, I'm very interested in and probably want to go back and collect those in singles. I think that's only supposed to be like 9 or 12 issues. I'm not sure if that continues past the first few arcs, as Austin and I talked about a few weeks ago. Laura Kinney Wolverine. We keep putting different people in with the Wolverine mantle. I don't know who that's supposed to appeal to. I've heard good things about Radiant Black, but I've not read it. So whoever wins top super chatter again, if you're so inclined and you want to try for that, I'm totally cool with not big two things and sampling independent things and not superhero things. And on weeks where there's no takers and I'm picking, I will probably go to some of that stuff. One thing I'm really curious about, and I cannot remember the name of it off the top of my head. Somebody help me out. But there's a Power Rangers-esque independent book that I think Kyle Higgins has been doing that I've been hearing really great things about that I'd like to try. And I'll probably review the first arc of that at some point on this program. Especially because Austin is not going to care about that at all. I've been curious about the new Supergirl book. The art in that looks real stylish and interesting, and I don't know if I'm going to collect those, but I will definitely try to read that at some point in digital. Continuing down, Aquaman, Green Lantern Corps, Fantastic Four First Steps. So what are we doing here? Is this an actual tie-in to the movie, or just a way to try to get people interested in FF with that movie? It is, in fact, from the world of the upcoming film, as authorized by the Future Foundation. Matt Fraction is coming back to do this. That's cool. It's nice that it's got a good creative team. I will probably not buy that, but I might read that in digital. I'm certainly curious about that. It's neat that it's getting... Because I don't know that MCU does a lot of tie-in things like that. I guess it's easier when it's an alternate continuity. But very often, Marvel will, and I think to this day they do this, they'll try to have some kind of synergy with whatever's going on with the movies, where they'll kind of change their status quo to match what's happening with the movie. Or they'll kill off a character that's in a movie to try to get interest in that character before you see the character alive in the movie. I don't know what that's about, but we're doing that right now with Death of Silver Surfer, which I did buy the first issue of, and I'll show that briefly later. The Power Fantasy, I don't know what this is. This is another Image book. Image just killing it lately, it seems like. I've been hearing so many good things about random creator-owned books, and I need to catch up and read some of this stuff. Find out what happened when the Pyramid went to hell. Image has been so good with just these blurbs, with like a 1 or 2 sentence log line that makes you go, well, yeah, hell, I'd read that. And how it makes the present day go to hell. Derogatory. Oh, complimentary and derogatory. That's a wonderful logline. Come celebrate the Power Fantasy's triumphant celebratory 10th issue. That's issue 100 in old money. What a clever blurb. That's wonderful. Like, I would read that just based on that. Just the respect I have for the way they're selling it. Doctor Strange of Asgard. What are we doing, Marvel? Marvel continuing to have their house strategy lately seems to be mash 2 or 3 random things together that we own. It's like they like to amalgamize their own things. Okay, it's like Helverine. I still don't understand what that is and who that's supposed to appeal to. Star Wars Legacy of Vader. I just recently sold all of my Marvel Star Wars because I bought all that stuff just to read it as it was coming out, and then I lost interest. And as you guys know, I'm not a big Star Wars guy in the first place, and that let me kind of jumpstart my new collecting with back issues and just gap filling some old stuff I haven't looked at in a long time. And I was just real like comic buying happy, and it was a lot of fun to get to do that. And I think I mentioned this in another video, but I got a really good deal on that stuff, and so that's part of how I've been funding my comic buying lately. Superior Avengers #4. We still can't get away from the Superior title. I thought that was really silly way back when we did it with Spider-Man like a decade ago now, and we're still doing. Does it have anything to do with the Dan Slott stuff? Does it have, or are we just using that name? Like, it doesn't look like Doc Ock is involved in this at all. Like why? What does this have to do with Superior? Who pulls the strings? Well, I don't know. It kind of looks like it's Doctor Doom, but maybe they'd surprise you. As the Superior Avengers solidify their place as Earth's mightiest heroes, the cracks begin to show. Where does each member's loyalty lie, and how can they stay together long enough to reach their ultimate goal? So yeah, nothing Marvel's putting out is just immediately grabbing me. And so far, none of these feel like things I have to have in singles yet. So we'll see if I end up buying very much going to the store tomorrow. Oh yeah, Marvel's doing these weird swimsuit issues. There were a couple guys were talking about this at my comic shop a couple weeks ago, and they've got some sexy lady ones, which I was kind of surprised by, because I feel like just a couple of years ago, we wouldn't even do that for fear of being called sexist or something. And apparently the idea originally, and take this with a grain of salt, I heard this, third hand, but apparently the idea originally was this whole swimsuit line, and I don't plan on buying any of these, by the way, but of these variant covers, I think it's just variant covers, was supposed to just be men. And then there was maybe some backlash, or I think they hadn't even announced it yet, and Marvel turned tail even before they said anything, is the story I heard. Again, grain of salt, and went, we better be equal opportunity, and so we'll have some women in swimsuits also. But that's why you're seeing, like, women and men in the covers, if that's true. So I don't know, that's interesting. It seems like there's been a lot of Gotham by Gaslight stuff lately. I don't know how interested I am in more of that, like that as a line. I love the original, but I guess we're doing a Justice League in Gotham by Gaslight. It seems inevitable that these old Elseworlds things that were really popular always end up coming back and having like a bigger continuity. But I might try that out if I hear good things about it. You guys can see some things on the screen here that I'm not necessarily going to click on, because I'm just looking at stuff that either catches my eye because it looks odd, or that I'm, interested in and kind of want to look at. Superman Treasury, Predator, Black and White, and Blood #1. I guess there's been a lot of these Black, White, and Blood books lately. I think those are reissues of things colored differently. Tell me if I'm wrong about that. What is Planet Death? Planet Death. Is this another Image book? Who is printing this? But bad idea. Okay. I've never heard of this. I can't even tell who's putting this out. The explosive 48 first issue of the record-breaking series premieres in a high-end deluxe prestige format. Well, it's nice that they're reissuing some of this stuff so that I can find out about it in the first place. From the minds of blockbuster screenwriter Derek Kolstad, creator and writer of John Wick, and Robert Venditti. Oh, Superman 78. Okay. So it seems like kind of a powerhouse team here. Millions of miles from home, hundreds of ships descend into the stormy atmosphere of a hostile frozen world. On board, an army of resolute men and women brace for the coming assault. They are an invasion force, not grabbing me as hard as the Pyramid book, on an impossible mission. Destroy the devastating enemy weapon garrisoned below. Good word choice. Corporal Scott and his battalion are in the vanguard, but the human forces are no match for their brutal alien adversaries. Scott's battalion is dead. It's kind of, I don't know, Starship Troopers-esque. Within moments, he is the lone survivor. The landing force annihilated. The battle is lost. I don't know. If I hear good things about that, I might check it out. That does not immediately seem like a thing I've got to read, but obviously, I love good science fiction stories. I'm just picky when it comes to comics. So, Gotham City Sirens has been putting out new stuff lately. There's a miniseries that I bought in back issues because I got them cheap, and I haven't read that yet. And now there's another one I didn't even know about. Gotham City Sirens Unfit for Orbit. So I guess naturally we have to send everything to space. So, I don't know. I may buy that eventually because I have most of the rest of the Gotham City Sirens stuff. Fire and Ice, what are we doing, man? We're just so into early 90s DC nostalgia right now. And part of that is Superman, I'm sure, the new movie, because James Gunn is clearly pulling from that period for some of his Justice Gang team in that movie with Guy Gardner and stuff. And of course, that's exciting to me. But it's very surreal considering how far we were trying to get from that continuity for a while a few years ago, that now we're just right back hip deep into it. I also think it's funny that this is called Fire and Ice When Hell Freezes Over, because I would have expected that to be what would have to happen before Fire and Ice came back and got their own series. They didn't even have their own series back when they were, in the Justice League in the 90s. I can't even say popular, because those were never, popular characters. Anyway, what is leaping out to you guys of stuff that is coming out tomorrow? Does not seem like a giant week for me. I'll go in and see what variant covers there are in things. That was a great sentence. I'll see what kind of variant covers there are, and see if I end up picking up anything tomorrow. Darkstalkers X Street Fighter. Just everything in its dog is getting a comic right now. That's another thing I would think Health would have to freeze over for. Does anybody even remember Darkstalkers? It's crazy. Let's see what folks are saying in the comments here. I'm gonna have to scroll back here for a second. Nicholas Bodo, hey Cap, cannot wait for this new series. Well, if you mean the series that we're on right now, you don't have to wait. I'm making it in this very moment, in fact. Braden Atkinson, can we request manga? I am gonna ask not to do that right now. I would like to read and review maybe some manga down the road, but I don't want to do it on this show. I want to make this more about American comics that are coming out weekly and then get traded, and we can talk about things in trade. Not to, what is the word I'm looking for? I can't think of words. Let's see what else people are saying here. Nicholas Bodo read the first. I was gonna say just not discriminate against Japanese comics. And I don't know a ton. That is a real blind spot for me. But I'm not saying I would never want to do it. Just probably not on this show. But we do have the request, and that would be a good place for that. Nicholas Bodo read the first 2 issues of Absolute Superman, and it's really good. Like I said, I really like what I've read so far. Nicholas Bodo also goes back to Superman as a champion for the oppressed. Yeah, I feel like it kind of better realizes that even than Morrison did when he was doing his New 52 Superman. It feels like kind of going back to that again. Chewbacca's Lover, I can't wait for you to see their Jimmy Olsen and who the big bad is. Fun. Excited about it. Bob the Han, I want to see their Absolute World's Finest. Can you even imagine those two characters in a book together? If any two versions of Batman and Superman felt more like they wouldn't get along, it would probably be them, although I've only read 2 issues, and I don't have a great handle on Superman yet. So I might change my mind after I've read a few more issues, but I just can't even imagine those guys in a book together yet. Bugs Lover, the 8-year-old in me likes Absolute Bane's design. It's over the top. As it is. It's insane. He's got his tiny head and his huge body. And like everything else, I'll just say this real quick. Like everything else with the series so far, on paper I don't like it. And then I look at it in the context of the book, and it just fits with everything. Like all these designs separately, no. and then it's all of a piece. It always feels correct, whatever it is. Look, he's supposed to be an abomination, and he just is, okay? But hilariously, Bane feels like the thing in this that is closest to the original design so far. Like, he's still got the tubes, he still pumps himself up, he's just a lot bigger. Which just makes sense in this, because Absolute Batman is all about excess, and Bane is no exception, and he shouldn't be. Nicholas Bodo, love to see reviews of Absolute Universe in the future. I feel like that's what the show is going to end up turning into, is just like absolute comic book late night. Definitely plan to collect Absolute Universe and trade alongside IDW Sonic in the future. Yeah, we'll look at some Sonic a little bit later. Bob the Hun, are you a fan of their Bane? I know it's only one issue, but what do you think of how they handled him? Well, I was going to talk about this later, but I guess I can go ahead and mention this right now. It is on the top of my stack. But so far, I think he's really menacing and really scary, and again, he just fits in this universe. We don't have a great handle on him yet. He's just going around, minor spoilers, destabilizing nations, and he's working for Arc M, it seems. We don't know anything about his background yet. I was excited to find that he was going to be part of the whole Arc M thing, because those are like prisons that are scattered about, and that goes along with being really great, because I thought maybe he would be raised in one, but we don't know that yet. I'll be surprised if that's not what's happening with him. But he is kind of a big mystery so far, but he's just like scary as all get out. So I don't know what exactly his worldview and ideology is yet, and how that's going to be related to the original Bane. And it's also just interesting, like, what villains we're getting out up front with this series, considering that several of the big names that you think of with Batman's Rogues Gallery are so far Bruce Wayne's best friends. And so you start thinking about everybody that's left over and, like, who's going to come in and win. So we had a real creepy, messed up Mr. Freeze, who I liked a lot. Definitely the most twisted Freeze we've ever had. And now we've got Bane. But I'm, like, I can't even begin to tell, you know, who we're going to get next time around. But yes, I do, so far, kind of like what they're doing with him. Anthony Mazzano, Logan, what are your thoughts on the new Captain America #1 that just came out by Chip Zdarsky? I didn't even know about that. I haven't looked at it. I don't usually keep up with Captain America, despite the fact that I have a ridiculous amount of it in my collection. Just because in buying out collections, my wife always asks me to keep the Captain America. So I have like 500 issues or something of Captain America, but I rarely actually read it. But if I hear good things, I might check it out. Chip Zdarsky seems kind of hit and miss to me so far, but I haven't read a ton of his stuff yet. So I've not read past an issue or two of his Daredevil, and I don't like the direction it sounded like he went with Batman in going back to, like, Zur-En-Arrh and all of that stuff. But I didn't read, again, more than like an issue or two. Nicholas Bodo, will you read Transformers, Skybound Transformers soon? It looks amazing. Go check out the 2 vaults that I've already done on that with Austin. We've done deep dives, a lot of story analysis on those, and I think it's this is a weird thing for me to say because I haven't been keeping up, but of what I've read as far as licensed nostalgia stuff goes and reimaginings of old properties, it's the best of those I've read in like a decade. And I'm a giant fan of both Boom Power Rangers and IDW Ninja Turtles, and I think it blows both of them out of the water as far as storytelling goes. Tyler Zaya says Moore is just doing one arc. Well, that's sad, but I'm sure it will be wonderful. Dan Schneider, have you seen what the modern Ultimate Wolverine looks like? It's insane. You need to Google it. No, I don't. Let's take a look. So, Ultimate Wolverine 2024 or whatever. Let's see. Oh, strange. Okay, this looks like a very, like, 90s image design for Wolverine to me. Look, he's got no mouth. He looks like a Mortal Kombat character. Look at him. He's crazy. Yeah, I'm gonna have to read this at some point. I'm very curious now. See, this is all about learning. Oh, look, well, underneath, he still kind of looks like Logan. So, that's good. Wow, what's happening here? He's got, like, his rib cage partly ripped out. Are we sure Rob Liefeld is not drawing on this book? Crazy. Okay, let me read a couple more comments here. John, hi, John. I'm so behind on all comics. Haha, Power Rangers is what I'm most interested in right now. Well, I would be curious to know when you catch up if you will still feel that way, John, because I read the first issue of the new series and I didn't like it at all. Or I should say I didn't like the status quo. I mean, like, the writing is decent. I like Melissa Flores. I just don't really care for her choice for the new status quo and how she's rebooting and the characters she's choosing to mix together. I just don't have any initial interest in, really. There's not a lot for me to grab onto yet as a Power Rangers fan, and I don't think the art is great. So I'm hoping she wins me over on it. It's already, 7 or 8 issues in? So I don't know. I'll give it a chance, but past the first issue, I haven't been buying it in singles. So I don't know. If I end up not loving that, I'm fine having a complete collection of the previous universe before it gets soft rebooted. And I say soft rebooted, I don't even know what that means to people anymore. It's like within continuity, so they have mixed up the universe. Like it has changed. It's technically still in the same continuity, but we had some kind of universe-breaking crisis kind of thing with Power Rangers, I think. I haven't read that last issue yet, but that's what I've been told happened. We have a more traditional soft reboot with Jason Aaron's Ninja Turtles, which I just read the first issue of finally today, and I am buying that book. I got the last 4 or 5 issues. I got to catch up with the other ones. But anyway, that's the same continuity, and they did not do a crisis with that, but it does feel gritty again and kind of back to the brass tacks for Ninja Turtles. It's got a good first issue. Nicholas Bodo, what are some Image books you have read, Cap? Nothing recently. I'm gonna need to get some suggestions from people, and hopefully folks can request stuff, and I can catch up on a few of those things. Matches 35, it's cool that you're doing this, Cap. Thanks, man. I appreciate you watching. Dan Schneider, $5 super chat. Marvel is so desperate that they're going back to sexy women comics, or so I hear. It's supposedly not limited to the swimsuit issues. If that's the case, it's even funnier if the genesis of that is, and I don't know if people will agree with me when I say this or not, but we're so out of touch trying to get a demographic that's not interested in our comics or possibly any comics to read, that we're going to put a bunch of scantily clad sexy men on the covers and hope that people show up, and then at the last minute they go, oh, wait a minute, there's more guys reading our books that would maybe want to see like half naked women on the I guess we'll go back to that, even though we've kind of acted very progressive and against that in the last few years before that. They really feel like they're grasping for straws, but there's also out of continuity things and some more like creator driven stuff that they're doing that I'm hearing about that seems good. So like I think we might see a Marvel that kind of turns back around as DC is paving the way for them, at least in some capacity over the next couple of years. Dare I say, we could, and maybe I'm being overly optimistic when I say this, dare I say we could be looking at a new comics renaissance where both of the big two are good at the same time. And I don't think that's happened really in my lifetime. Or at least where they're both on equal footing. They've been decent. If one is really, really great, the other is only allowed to be kind of decent or have like a few good books. Neither one of them have been, oh God, I'm loving everything that's coming out from this company at the same time. That's never happened really in my lifetime, and especially since I was collecting Current back in the early 2010s. Nicholas Bodo, I think it's confirmed we're getting Bane's origin in issue 10 or 11. That's exciting. Nicholas Bodo, I meant to say I plan to read Skybound Transformers soon. Oh, cool. You should. It's wonderful. Brain Atkinson, Wolverine is trying to cosplay as Cassandra Cain. Yes, exactly. I almost said that, but then looking closer at it, I was like, it kind of looks like Scorpion or something from Mortal Kombat. Nicholas Bodo, hey Cap, are you still reading Space Ghost? So we reviewed the first 6 issues. I've not read past that yet. I want to. I think the series ended with 12 in an annual. I don't know if it's continuing. It looked like it was maybe done after that, but if 13 comes out, I will put it on my pull and start buying it. So anyway, let me go ahead and start showing you guys some stuff that I have bought over the last few weeks. I'm going to start with new issues in no particular order, and I've got these a little shuffled up, so I'm not going to remember like what week they came out. Does anybody care? I hope not. As I mentioned, I did go ahead and buy Absolute Batman number 9. You're not going to see me bring this up every single time it comes out, because like I said, I'm probably going to end up buying these in trade. I still haven't decided for sure. If I end up with a number of books that I'm okay with on my pull, and I could decide I've got room for at least a couple of these, and then eventually go back and buy the rest of them in singles. I haven't decided yet. If I did that, it would be really hard not to buy all of them. But for the characters that I tend to collect, it'd be at least Batman and Superman, and then maybe Martian Manhunter. But because I don't think I've got really the space on my pull to get everything, I'm more likely to get them in trade later. I bought this just for the George Perez Legacy variant, just because I thought that was cool. This is Superman number 27. Eventually, I do want to go back and read all of this. I was really liking what I read of the first arc of this. I think I read the first 5 or 6 issues when it came out. It's just surreal to me that it's already at 27. It's freaking nuts. But okay, so I'll read that in digital. Might eventually get those in trade. I don't know yet. My trade priority right now is Spawn. I'm trying to recollect my old Spawn collection, which I sold my singles of like 10 years ago. I'm trying to rebuy all that in trade now that that stuff has been traded, and I'm alternating right now between catching up my Power Rangers singles collection and catching up my Spawn trade collection. I hope my collecting habits are not boring to anybody, because that's part of what I'm going to be talking about on this show. But anyway, I have not read this issue because I'm not caught up on this, so I just bought that to have it. And then I did read this today. This is Superman Unlimited number 1, which I also bought just because it had a really cool cover, and I was in the mood for Superman with a new movie coming out. It is they called it. Man, I can't even remember, like Summer of Superman, I guess, where they had just a big initiative with lots of covers and new Superman series and things. So we got around the same time, I can't remember if this is the same week or not, but we got around the same time Superman Unlimited number 1 and Crypto Last Dog of Krypton number 1. Sorry, it's all washed out with my light. This I did put on my pull list. I really enjoyed this first issue, and I'm finding myself prioritizing things that I don't think are going to go on forever. I don't expect Crypto Last Dog of Krypton to go past like 20 or 24 issues, and this is a thing that I just see having in boxes. My son, Mikey, read this and really liked it. By the way, my kids have been getting more into comics lately, too. That's another variable in getting me back into the comic shop. They've read stuff in the past in digital mostly, and they've suddenly kind of fallen in love with singles. They helped me with some organization with a project that I was doing a couple weeks ago. I had a bunch of books to file. I was teaching Freddie and Mikey, my 10-year-old and my 6-year-old, respectively, how to alphabetize books. It was really good kind of a learning project for them. I homeschool, so I'm always looking for kind of non-conventional ways to teach them things, and that was a really cool way to teach them how to organize and alphabetize and number things. Really important skill that a lot of kids don't readily get. And I learned that with my dad being in the junk business when I was a kid, and also just being into comics. I kind of was self-taught with that stuff. And so they would file things, and they learned to bag and board and everything. And then they would take a break and read a comic. And they've been reading tons of comics the last couple weeks. They've just really come to love singles and just the whole hobby. They've been coming with me to the comic shop, and then my twins, my twin 3-year-old girls, they're about to turn 4, have also been coming with me to the comic shop. And Selena especially has been loving just perusing single issue comics, and she actually pulled out a couple of things the last time we were at the comic shop together. Back issue comics that I actually needed. So I've got a database in my phone, and I'll look things up. And she loves Spider-Man, so she found some old Spider-Man issues with awesome covers that I really needed, that I bought. And anyway, so it's just been really fun sharing the hobby with them. But anyway, so I guess I'll start with Superman Unlimited. This is Dan Slott, who, as you guys know, I very often don't like, except he tends to be pretty good with all ages comics and stuff based on old cartoon shows and things. But this was not bad, and I haven't decided if I'm going to put this in my pull or if I'm just going to read this in trade. I'm more likely to just get this in trade because I can see it going either way with the setup with this. I'm going to spoil the premise of this, which you don't get until you get to the end of the issue. But if anybody's looked into this, you'll probably read pretty quickly what this book is about, because like that's kind of the selling point to it. This is an oversized issue, that's why it's $6. That is very just recappy with the history of Superman. It's a real good kind of overview, snapshots into the history of Superman going all the way up. And I think Slott actually has a pretty decent voice for Superman and his value system, and his attitude is real on point. It's a lot of just Superman going around saving people, which I always really appreciate. And there's some real like honest to God morality in it. And then we use a catastrophe in order to let Superman's life flash before his eyes, so that we can have a real easy excuse to go back through the history of Superman. And when he wakes up, so he deals with a bunch of kryptonite, and he goes into a coma. And then when he wakes up, he finds out 3 months later. This is the end of the issue. Again, I'm going to spoil the end of just this first issue. You find out that a bunch of kryptonite it's kind of like Smallville status quo times like 9, has landed on Earth and has changed the world, and is making it very difficult for Kryptonians to function, of course. And so now Superman is living on a world with kryptonite. I don't know how this affects any other books, because it's not out of continuity, and it's very much in the current status quo, because Lois Lane is the editor of the Daily Planet, and I guess has been for a little while. And so something has happened to Superman that makes him impervious to kryptonite, and that's the big cliffhanger at the end of this. I could see that going either way. It does feel like I said, I like the voice he's got for Superman. That feels like a very like wild fanficky Dan Slott kind of idea. It also sounds very Jeff Loebish to me, but I don't know. Maybe it'll be good. So I'm happy to have that first issue. I don't know if I'll keep buying that. Krypto Last Dog of Krypton starts with the destruction of Krypton through the eyes of Krypto the Superdog, and he's very dog-like, and he's a straight-up regular canine who will happen to have superpowers on Earth, and it's cute, and it's wholesome, and it's not it's sappy in the right ways, but it's not real cartoonish like I expected it to be either. I think it's the kind of book that isn't intended to be all ages, but it definitely is appropriate for all ages. I'll say it that way. And I won't spoil the ending of this, but check it out because it's cool and it is an exciting kind of alternate history through the eyes of crypto. Or at least I think it's supposed to be alternate history. It'll be weird if this is supposed to be mainline continuity somehow. But anyway, I will just say crypto lands on Earth, and it's sometime in the past, and he's picked up by a different character than Superman, and it's a fun kind of status quo. And I am gonna buy those. So I'm in a weird predicament. These are dumb first world problems as a comic collector. But I haven't bought new in 5 years, and I was buying the Sonic IDW series for my kids when I quit, and I haven't read hardly any of these. I was just buying them for the kids, and I like the covers and I love the art. And Ian Flynn is great, but I've never regularly read Sonic really. And I bought the first 30 something issues, 36, 38. And now we're all the way up to 78 and 79. So these are from the last couple of months. And we're at a status quo with this right now. Sonic's just not even here. It's just all these other characters. And the art is really pretty. I read 78 today just because I knew I was doing the show and somebody might ask me about this. And I don't really know what the hell is happening in this, but the atmosphere is wonderful and the art is really lovely. And I don't know a lot about Blaze the Cat, but she's really prominently featured in this, and as is Amy. And there's this other female character named Surge that I wasn't familiar with. That's really impulsive and leaps into action, does crazy things. This is surprisingly involved, but this issue was just a bunch of these characters dealing with a natural disaster. Like I said, just jumping right in the middle of this. I didn't really know what I was looking at, but I was enjoying it while I was reading it. But anyway, I was in a weird place with this because these are very hard to go back and gap fill. Sonic fans are ravenous and crazy to this day when it comes to the comics. And the single issues are always overpriced. When you find them on eBay or anywhere online, they're always marked up past cover. Nobody ever has lots that are very buyable, and I just bought a bunch of, like I said, Power Rangers on mycomicshop.com that had those for a real reasonable price, and I could on average get them for cover or less. With shipping, it was about cover price. With Sonic, they had hardly any of these. There's just not any backstock for this book. And so I researched this before I started buying new issues, and I went, I can do one of two things. I can either go back and buy all of this in trade. IDW does wonderful hardcovers for these, just like they do with a lot of their books. And I could maybe sell the issues I own already and just start buying these in hardcover. Or I can go ahead and start buying the singles as they're coming out now and hope to God I can go back at some point and get the singles. And that's what I've decided to do because the kids really wanted to read it current as it was coming out, even not being caught up. They just get really excited when they come out now that we're getting into comics again. And my kids are like I was when I was a kid, where they're fine reading issues completely out of order, just sitting down and reading a random issue of a thing, not having to read full story arcs, especially Mikey. They like trade too, but they really enjoy the novelty of just, I'm reading a comic right now. So that's what I'm doing with this for now. Hopefully at some point I can go back and get those singles, and if not, maybe I will sell all of these and get the trades, but I can probably get them for cover, considering how hard it is to get those, apparently. Nicholas Bodo, IDW Sonic is excellent. Surge is one of the best characters introduced in any Sonic story. Surge seemed cool. John, Smallville Clark could never be immune to kryptonite. There'd be no show. That's exactly right. And how would we count it? Tyler Zayas, Crypto was a miniseries. Okay, good to know, because I didn't see anything about that. It looked like a monthly to me. Well, it's nice to know that that's not going to be a giant commitment or anything. Tyler Zayas Williamson Superman is so good. What I read of it, I really loved. Tyler Zayas, I don't think Marvel will get there with the current people in charge. They need a big shakeup at the top. I mean, I tend to agree with that. I'm trying to be optimistic. This was a reprint of the first appearance of Crypto, so Adventure Comics 210, and this was the issue that notoriously had, and this is all done now, of course, the possibility of winning a Willy Wonka-esque golden ticket to go to the Superman premiere, and that premiere just happened this week, so I did not get the golden ticket. They only put 2 in one comic, where they put this out in the whole 50 states. But my comic shop gave me this for free, so that was cool. Like I said, I am buying Jason Aaron's new Ninja Turtle series, and I found some back issues recently so I could start to catch up on this. So I've got 6 through 9, and 9 just came out. The art in this is spectacular. I love the look and atmosphere of this. The only complaint I have about it, just based on the first issue, which is all I've read so far, but I've thumbed through some others, and I'm excited to keep going because it looks like the art just improves and improves. And this might just be a me thing, but the text with particularly text boxes is really small in that book, and was kind of difficult to read on top of red text boxes. But anyway, this is, so like I said, I buy a lot of stuff for pretty covers, and I don't even know what this book is. I just bought it because it had a cool cover, but this is, this is X-Men #1. Oh, cool, so this is a #1. That's nice. I didn't even realize that. Which started last year, apparently, and it's just a really cool wraparound cover that's got a bunch of characters, and they're not even all mutants, but a lot of them are, but it's just a bunch of Marvel characters, and I got this for half cover, so I feel like I had to have that. In fact, I bought this just based on the front cover, didn't even realize it was wraparound, so that was kind of a cool bonus when I got that home. I have read none of Batman 89 Echoes yet. I've heard nothing but not great things. Everybody seems even more lukewarm than a lot of us were with the first mini, but it being Batman 89, I have bought some of these for the covers, and so this was another one that I got for half off. My comic shop has, and I've been seeing this with some other stores too, this seems like kind of a popular thing recently where they'll take recent back issues that they aren't able to move for a few months and then mark them down to half cover. And so I've gotten a lot of recent things that way. So a $5 book will be a $2.50 book, and that's really nice. But anyway, I love this cover, and I love the giant 89 bat symbol on the chest there. So people have made fun of me for buying these, but I don't care. Somebody said these look like Deviant Art covers, but I think they're cool. I did go ahead and get that variant with Shadow as Batman for DC Sonic the Hedgehog #1. I haven't read past the first issue yet. I now have 2 copies of this because of these variant covers. But they're up through issue 4 now, so I will probably review that when it's finished at some point. Robin and Batman Jason Todd #1. This I highly recommend. I really enjoyed this first issue. I really like the pencil-y and kind of watercolor art with this. This is Lemire and Nguyen, so, powerhouse team. And this is adventures with Jason Todd during the early days of that dynamic. And another thing, I can't decide if I'm going to buy in singles or read in trade down the road, but I loved this first issue. Death of Silver Surfer, I was not as impressed with. This feels like, I won't get too deep into this, except just to say, it's been a couple weeks since I read this, but I wasn't super impressed. It's just a lot of the hallmarks of modern Marvel stuff that I don't care for, and I didn't love the characterization or the setup with some of the characters in this. Maybe it gets more interesting as it goes along, but this just wasn't really my bag. I'm not going to do a full review of that right now because, like I said, it's been a couple weeks, but it's not sticking with me. I didn't love it while I was reading it. This is a wonderful variant cover for DC Sonic the Hedgehog #4 with two of my favorite characters in anything. Look, it's Batman and Metal Sonic. Yay, that's wonderful. I'm glad this silly crossover happened just so this cover would happen. Look, they don't even look like they belong in the same universe. It's hilarious. Like, two totally different art styles. It looks like two totally different artists drew it, but I love it anyway. And I cracked this open and flipped through it, and Batman and Metal Sonic do indeed actually fight in this issue. In fact, I call this a variant. This might not even be the variant. This might be the regular cover for this. I'm actually not sure. Well, yeah, actually, I labeled it. I'm an idiot. This says 4A, so this must be actually the main cover. It's not a variant. I'm stupid. It's not a variant. By the way, let me mention that project real quick, too. So I mentioned that I've been doing, like I said, this is going to be a longer show tonight. I got to get every comic thing off my chest, and then next week we'll have like a half-hour show. No, it'll still be longer than that. I haven't even gone through comic announcements yet. I forgot to do that. I'll do that in a minute. So I've got this ongoing, it's going to take forever project where I've got most stuff filed now, and I've got a lot bagged and boarded. I still have a little bit of bags and boards to do. But the next step in my big comic project is I'm actually going in and labeling all of my books because it makes it just much easier to find stuff. Occasionally I have books that don't have the number on the cover or very, readily easy to see. And it's nice to know, like, which cover you have, etc. And especially years, because years are almost never on covers. So what I'm doing now is I'm labeling, and you'll see this a lot in comic shops. I really recommend doing this with your own collection if you collect singles like I do. What you do is you take the board out of the bag, you just pop it slightly out of the top. You take a thin Sharpie. I like to use a Sharpie so that it's, real readable. And you write the name of the series. I like to put the volume number in too if it's past the first volume, and then you put in the number. And if it's an issue, that has multiple covers, you put in the cover letter, which if you log your books like I do in a collector app like CLZ, which is what I use, you can look that up as you're going through these, and then you can see what the cover letter is, and it's much faster to do than trying to look for it in the book, of course. And then I put the date at the end. So this is what I'm doing with all of my collection now. It looks really nice in a box, and it'll make it much easier to find things. And then I got the, like I said, a few covers for Space Ghost that I have been looking for, and I prioritized the Zorak covers. This is my This is my favorite cover of this entire series so far, and this is a variant. I had been looking for this, and I need to back and board these. I'm so excited to finally have this one, and then I also got 4 and 5, which are Zorak covers as well, and eventually I will get all of these. I have issue 1, and I have another issue. It might be 2 or 3, but like a different cover than the ones you saw there. Once again, I really recommend that series, especially if you like the parody stuff and are curious about a more serious version of Space Ghost. As I said when I reviewed that, it is very Saturday morning cartoon, but with a little more bite and honest to God character dimension. Thinly plotted, not super deep storytelling, but wonderfully fun escapist stuff that has a little bit of an edge to it. And then I bought, I don't even know how long ago this came out, a year or two ago. This is I bought this on, and also these Space Ghost issues, on vacation. I was just outside of St. Louis, and I bought the Return of Superman 30th Anniversary Edition. I read this the other day. This is a hefty read. This took me probably 45 minutes to work through, and this is, just as it sounds, a story. Well, I shouldn't say a story. It's a present day story that keeps jumping back to the Death of Superman era, or I should say, it's about Reign of the Supermen. It's about the four Supermen that take over when Superman dies. And as you guys know, I'm an avid collector of Death of Superman, so I had to have this. I didn't even know this existed until I saw it on the shelf, and it is very authentic to the storytelling of that period, for better or worse, because three of the four writers from that period came back for this. So we've got Dan Jurgens, Louise Simonson, and Jerry Ordway. And we're missing Roger Stern here, which is sad. And I don't know if he's retired, or he doesn't have a credit for the last few years, and I don't know if he's in bad health and just couldn't come back for it, or if for some reason he didn't want to. But the fourth writer here is Carl Kessel, and he's replacing Roger Stern. But anyway, this was all right. You're not going to care about this unless you're already a big fan of this stuff and just want the 1 second. The experience of going back to this period and having kind of a nostalgic trip down memory lane with this. It's nice that these aren't just random short stories that are kind of throwaway, but there's actually the whole thing is throwaway, but there's a framing device where Cyborg Superman has returned and is fighting the other three the characters that took over for Superman when he died, and we contrive a way for them to be the only people fighting him then. It is very silly that Superman could come in and help, but he's like, they've got it, and so he just kind of stands back and doesn't do anything until the very end of the issue. It reads very much like a clip show. It's kind of just reminding you about the origins of these characters and how everybody was feeling when Superman died and the whole world without Superman thing. The best thing story-wise it's got going for it is kind of a character study, such as it is, of Perry White, who... the framing of this is Perry was writing about the Superman that took over for the real Superman, and has all these notes in a journal, and in order to try to take down Cyborg Superman, Lois gets her hands on that and is reading that for any clues. And he kind of goes on about how remorseful he is that he believed that Cyborg Superman is the real Superman, and how he made this big journalistic integrity mistake of publishing an article on the front page of the Planet saying that that was the case, and that it's the only retraction he ever had to do. And so there's some stuff about journalistic integrity that I appreciate. The art's pretty solid. But again, kind of a thing you'd only want to collect if you're already into Death of Superman. But I enjoyed it. I also appreciate, even though it is very clip showy, that it was, a hefty enough read for a $10 comic. And I did end up having to pay full price for this. So, I don't know, it was kind of nice being that expensive of a book that I was like, at least it's taking me a while to read. And then, like I said, I bought these Gotham City Siren books, this miniseries that I didn't even know about. I don't know anything about this, and I've not read that yet, but I bought them. And I also got this issue of Saturday Morning Adventures Ninja Turtles by Eric Burnham. And I like what I've read of this so far. I've read a couple of issues of this. I don't own any of this yet, besides this one now. But I bought this because Selena was with me, and she loves 87 Ninja Turtles, and she wanted this one. So I bought this and read it to her, and that was very nice. Okay, let me see what folks are saying in the comments, and then I will look at a few recently announced books that we should probably talk about. It's already 20 after. It's already an hour and 20 minutes in. We're going to have at least a 2-hour show tonight. I know it's late. I hope you guys are enjoying this. And like I said, I don't think these will usually be this long. But thanks for hanging in with me. Dan Schneider, what types of comics are your kids into? Lately, it's been Sonic and Power Rangers, and so they like a lot of media tie-in stuff, of course. Freddie has been reading the old Batman Adventures comics, and Mikey really likes Batman too. And I actually bought Mikey the first trade of that. That's the first 10 issues. I found that recently. And I'm gonna give him that for his birthday. I think he's gonna be excited about that. But Mikey picked up like just a regular late 80s, early 90s detective issue that was probably like a little beyond his age. It wasn't super violent or anything, but it's very like street level, just detective fiction, and he loved it. Uh, but anyway, and then what else? Mikey has been reading some Transformers. I gave him Last Stand of the Wreckers, which I'm sure he had no idea what was happening story wise, but he read that cover to cover like 4 times. He loved that, and he also read The Search for Kryptonite recently, which is a story arc in Jeff Loeb's Superman Batman, which is why I thought the Kryptonite thing was really surreal in that Superman issue I just talked about, because I was looking at that recently. And then what has Freddie been reading? Oh, Freddie read a trade that I have of Earth 2 Huntress, and he loved that. And he was reading something else just the other day, but I can't remember what. So yeah, they've been reading just lots of random things in my collection. A lot of DC stuff. Jeff Gerhardt, yay, Gotham City Sirens. Who is writing that series? I love the original version. Yeah, I'm not sure. I gotta pop one of these open and find out. I mean, it's certainly not Dini. But yes, I love the original series as well. This is Leigh Williams. I don't know who that is. With art by Daniel Hillard. Just thumbing through this, it does not look like my thing at all. It doesn't look like it's going to have anything like the tone of the original series. It seems a lot more. How do I even put it? Because I mean, obviously, I'm not reading this; I'm just thumbing through it. But like, it just seems a lot more comedic. Not that that book doesn't have, amusing things in it, but it looks like the comedy is really driving that one. So anyway, let me go ahead and pull up some newly announced things. Some of these are things I will care about. Some of them are not, and I'm not going through like everything that's been announced. But here's one that is just stuff that either I'm going to be interested in or you might be. But here's one I am really interested in. IDW is doing, I think it's IDW, is doing a Twilight Zone series. And this is going to be okay, it's just a 5-issue series. I wasn't sure if this was monthly. I knew it was anthology. But yeah, it's going to come out in September. They're all in black and white, which I didn't realize. That's cool. This comes from sci-fi.com. And that's appropriate because, this is a sci-fi thing. If this is only 5 issues, I will probably actually buy it. But each of them is going to be a story with a different creative team, I think. This says, titled Blanks, the debut story hails from the creative team of writer Dan Waters from Batman Dark Patterns, which, like I said, I really want to read, and illustrator Morgan Beam from Swamp Thing Twin Branches, which I don't know anything about, so I don't know that artist. While plot details have not yet entered our reality, cute, the cover art for Blank seems to indicate a world occupied by faceless, Slender Man-like entities. That's very creepy. But like I said, each of these is written by somebody different. Oh, and Francesco Francavilla is doing one. Cool. So, yeah, I'm very curious about that. And then DC is doing a new Red Hood series, out of Gotham City, not out of Bullets. Well, it would be almost more interesting if Red Hood, couldn't use guns for some reason, because that's what he does. This is written by people I don't know, Gretchen Felker Martin and Jeff Spokes. So if anybody really needs more Red Hood in their lives, I like this art though. That looks all right. When does this come out? Ooh, look at that Huntress cover. That I would buy. Just for the cover. Okay, I'm a little bit more curious about this now that I know Huntress is in it. This comes out this month. June 16th. So next week actually. Okay, cool. And then hold on, I have to get past this ad blocker. I thought I'd throw a Marvel one in here in case anybody cares. This is from comicbookmovie.com. Marvel Comics announces a brand new day for Spider-Gwen in an all-new comic book series. This reminds me of a rant I wanted to bring up, which is the brand new day, one more day thing. We just cannot get away from naming things based on that, even though nobody likes one more day, and brand new day is a different thing, but was a follow-up to that. When I was in that comic shop in Missouri last week, they had this preposterously large hardcover of One More Day that looked like a absolute, and I was like, not brand new day, but One More Day, and I was like, let's commemorate this thing that is hated and that a lot of people felt like was the day Spider-Man kind of like died as a character people cared about and as a franchise, and that's hyperbolic, but people felt that way. Let's commemorate that with this giant, oversized, like beautiful hardcover. I don't understand that. Anyway, so Spider-Gwen is getting a new series, just in case anybody cares. Stephanie Phillips and Paolo Villanelli. More names that I don't know. There's going to be a lot of this as I'm getting back into new comics where I just don't know who, the new big names are. Departing her home dimension under mysterious circumstances and finding herself trapped in 616, Gwen embarked, on a journey involving Loki, the TVA, and the reality-altering cosmic cube. Now her extended stay becomes permanent as her very life is rewoven into the main Marvel universe. So we got the TVA and 616. We got to do that much synergy. Does anyone care? I don't know. It just feels like, in general, Marvel... And I mean, this isn't fair because I haven't been really reading, but I've said this before. Every time I crack open at least 616 book in current, I'll read like a page or two and go, this could be okay, and then read two more pages and go, oh, this isn't for me, like for whatever reason. And sometimes it's different reasons, but I'll go, this just isn't my thing. Like it's usually comedy that doesn't appeal to me, and it's all the like lackluster and either trying too hard or not trying enough stuff that MCU has been doing. And it's like, if they're going for corporate synergy, they're at least they're shooting themselves in the foot the same way everywhere. It's very strange. But I read a synopsis like that and I go, it sounds like another Disney Plus show. And then we've got a new Battle World series announced. Again, synergy. Like, I guess... And this could be cool. Like, Jonathan Hickman is... Oh, wait. No, Jonathan Hickman is not doing this. This is just... kind of going back to the old Secret Wars event. Okay. New limited series by Christos Gage and Marcus Toe. I mean, those are usually decent creators, but... from whatever... I guess I haven't read a ton of Christos Gage, but... Anyway... like maybe that's cool, but again, it just feels like the corporate synergy thing, where it's like we're building up to the new Avengers movies, and so we're gonna do Doomsday and the Secret Wars, and Battle World is obviously gonna be a big part of that stuff, and so we got to get that back in people's minds. I'm sure DC is gonna have connections to movies in. Like, we're doing a bunch of Superman stuff right now because we've got the Superman movie coming. But the difference is, it's not that kind of, and hopefully it won't get this way as we go down the line with those movies, but it feels like it's just trying to get Superman back in your head again and going back to relatively more traditional Superman status quo and reminding us all why we love that character in the first place. So yes, Crypto the Superdog has a book because he's going to be in that movie, but it's like retelling old Superman stuff through Crypto's eyes. It's not going, what is that movie doing? Everything's got to be that right now. So it's not like, here's if Marvel was doing a book, like if Superman was a Marvel character right now, they'd have a book that was Superman with a supporting cast of Mr. Terrific and Guy Gardner and Hawk Girl and all the characters that are in that movie. That's what they'd be doing. So I don't know. I hope they take the right lessons from the way DC's handling things right now, and I hope DC continues to handle things the way they seem to be handling things. The other thing I wanted to mention, and I guess I forgot to pull a article about this up. I should, so we can look at the art just real briefly. 1 second. But we're getting a new comic based on the Spider-Man animated series from the 90s, and the reaction to this news was kind of mixed from folks, because the art looks overall really good, and I love that we've got a Venom that's got the weird red and blue highlights like from that show. That's great. But people are worried that this means we won't get a Disney Plus return to that show like we got with X-Men 97, because a lot of people have really been wanting that, especially because that show ends with Spider-Man goes off to find Mary Jane, and then we don't know what happens with that. And I can't, for whatever reason, I can't think of his name right now, but the showrunner of that show, first of all, he's not happy about this, and he's not involved in this. And this is not just a new random story set in that universe. This is supposed to wrap that whole thing up. And in a 5-issue miniseries, I think, it's supposed to be Spider-Man going to get Mary Jane. And people are like, oh no, you can't tell that story because that means that we'll never get that cartoon show. And I'm like, nah, if it does well, they still could do that, and it doesn't have to even be an adaptation of this. It could be the official one because it's actually a cartoon show. I wouldn't take any stock in that just because this is getting made. And if it's good, it'll be nice that we have a conclusion to that as just kind of a, alternate reality. Like, what if we got a return to that show if it never happens? You don't even have to think of it as real and canon. It might just be fun to get that story as, sort of an Elseworlds kind of thing. So I'm glad that's happening. It is frustrating to me that they're doing Moreland, because A, I don't like that character, and B, I kind of wish if it's supposed to be Spider-Man 94 that we would not use anybody that existed past that, particularly if it's supposed to be like an extra season of that show. I think it's a little bit different if it's something like and this is a bad example because I don't like this series, but I was always kind of mixed on the idea of doing it in Batman Adventures Continue, because it's like the adventures are continuing. If you kept going long enough, then those characters would exist, and so maybe it's okay to have some of that new stuff. I thought it was kind of weird doing Batman Who Laughs and stuff like that, but I'm always case by case with it. Like, I liked it in, I've talked about this before, but I liked it in the 60s Batman, the Batman 66 comic, where we do a version of Bane in that, and we do Clayface, and although I guess there was a Clayface pretty far back, but Harley Quinn with roller skates. From the beginning, the idea with that book was, let's reinvent some modern characters in the Batman 66 aesthetic. It never felt like that was supposed to be, like, in canon, more stuff from that show. Exactly. Like, that always felt like it was more of an offshoot that did more stuff with 66, but could get, kind of grander and broader with it. If the premise in the first place is this is the rest of that show, don't do Moreland. And that's my only real frustration with it. But I've already put that on my pull list. I will definitely get that. There was also a new Marvel Zombie series, 5-issue mini that was announced that comes out, I think, somewhere around October or November, maybe November, that is a new origin for Marvel Zombies. Like, even I think it's supposed to be even like a separate new Marvel Zombies continuity, and I'm much more interested in that than more stuff in that universe, because that's very, very played out. So I'm curious to see what that's going to end up looking like. Dan Schneider, Moreland blows cats. I couldn't say it better myself. Chewbacca's Lover, yeah, this comic is very much not what I want. Also, it's been so long since I've seen that finale. Well, it's on Disney Plus. If you've got that, you can go watch it. Tyler, that's not the interior art. I'm not sure what he's talking about. Oh, hi, Austin. Good to see you. Oz says DC is doing Mr. Terrific year one. Well, I can totally see them wanting to spotlight those characters. But I just think it's nice that they're not going, okay, we have to have a Superman book that has exactly this supporting cast in it. Austin, making sure movie characters is in comics is smart business. I agree. It's just that at Marvel, they're doing cringy things in the comics and movies. Yeah, and again, it always feels to me like they're just trying to make it look too much like exactly what the other thing is, where the comics are not about the comics, where it's more about just selling the movies. And there is a certain kind of corporate synergy that you do want, I think. But I still want the comics to be their own thing. And I think DC is doing that a lot better right now. Austin, Arkham Asylum just crashed on me. It didn't save any progress after playing it from the start of the show. I'm dying. Oh, no! I'm sorry, man. That sucks. You mean you've been playing that since the start of this show? I've been talking for an hour and 37 minutes or something, and you just crashed your game playing that long? That makes me sad. We should have a moment of silence for Austin's Arkham Asylum game. And that concludes our moment of silence. Okay, now I guess I'll talk a little bit about Batman Dark Age. We'll see how much of this I can remember. I've been talking for so long. But, so Batman Dark Age is written by Mark Russell with art by the Allreds, Michael Allred, Lord Allred coloring. I have always really liked their art a lot. It is it has kind of a storybook quality to it, and it took me a while to warm up to the faces with it, but when they draw it for, or when they're using it for something that's real appropriate for it, I really enjoy it. I think it's kind of a whimsical style that works better for cosmic stuff than it does for anything, and it's like they get kind of Kirby-esque in a much more cartoony way. And it's great for Silver Surfer, and I really liked it for Batman 66. There are places in this where it's wild and out there, and they feel really appropriate for it. And then this book also gets pretty dark and gritty, and their art style is weirder for that, but I think they overall won me over on it okay. When this starts, we've got this, like, city of the future, which I guess I didn't take any screenshots of, but we find out that Gotham is trying to build this like city of tomorrow. There are Superman connections all over this, and it's a very kind of like futuristic Metropolis kind of looking city, and like 1927 Metropolis, and they're very, very right for that kind of thing. And later on, minor spoilers with this book, we'll do some things with Brainiac, and we get into crisis things, which is odd with this book, that they're also very right for. But I guess it being a kind of a period piece, at least a lot of it, I can see the idea of going real whimsical with it, but I don't think it makes as much sense as the previous book, which I've not read, and I want to, that this team did together, which is Superman Space Age. I think that's what it's called. So you have Space Age, and then you have Batman Dark Age, and they are companion pieces, but apparently not set in the same continuity. Although I looked at a review that said it's weird because there are things that are happening in the background of this book that are things that happen in Superman Space Age, if that's what that book is called. But they're apparently tweaked and changed for this story. And so the reviewer that I read said, if you've read that, it reads like deja vu, where you're reading these things that have happened, but not exactly the way they've happened, and that's very odd. So I maybe enjoyed this more than I would have if I read that other book. I'm not sure, but I'm curious to go back now. So it'll be really odd backtracking. I didn't even know that existed until I looked at that review, and I was like, oh, this is sort of a follow-up, or at least like a spiritual successor kind of thing. But anyway, let me give you a brief synopsis of this book. And like I said, I'm not going to full-on spoil everything, so there won't be a lot of story analysis in this review, but I'll just kind of give you the basics, and you can decide whether you want to go check it out. This is 6 issues. They are, like I said earlier, oversized. So this is a hefty enough read. It takes a little while to get through, and it starts in 2030, and it's kind of biopic-y in that we have a framing device where a senile Bruce Wayne with dementia is trying to get all of his memories out while he still has them, while he's in a retirement home called Wayne Manors. And it's in alternate history, so yet another Batman reimagining, like a Telltale Batman, or like Batman White Knight, or even Absolute Batman. There's been so many of these lately, and they're starting to run together for me a little bit, or Earth One. So many stories that go back and use a lot of the elements that you're familiar with in brand new ways. And this one is kind of hit and miss. There's a lot of things I really like about the new origin that you have for Batman here, and he's got a totally different alternate history, and some things that I'm not as sure about, especially because by the end, I don't know that everything really adds up. This story felt really tightly woven until I got to the last issue, and I went, I think we wrapped things up a little bit too quickly, and I'm not sure that I buy where all the roads were leading. And I don't know if this reads better or worse on a second read. So there's my main criticism, is I don't know how I feel about the ending. But I was with it all the way up till then, with a couple of exceptions, particularly in I don't want to say character motivation, but almost character morality stuff. There's one thing that Batman does that is very strange to me, and there's one thing that Superman and the Justice League do that is very strange to me, where it just seems kind of out of character, even for these versions of these characters. But anyway, so I like the period piece idea of this. This is a very, very elderly Batman, or Bruce Wayne, even much more so than he is in Batman Beyond, who is, again, trying to get all of his memories out because he's starting to lose himself and his memories, and this is all about mortality and aging, and so Dark Age has kind of a double entendre to it. And so we go all the way back to the 50s, and Batman, or I should say Bruce Wayne's parents die, as they always do when they go to see the Mark of Zorro in the theater, but the big twist this time is Bruce wasn't there to see it. And we have more of a juvenile delinquent Bruce Wayne in this version, where we have a corrupted Wayne Enterprises that this is not a Telltale Batman thing where Bruce's parents were not above board people, but their company, so they are wonderful human beings who are philanthropists and trying to make Gotham a better place, and they put a lot of their money into orphanages and that kind of thing, like they often do in a lot of Batman continuities. But their company has been corrupted from the inside, and there's this terrible drug operation that's happening where Wayne Enterprises is almost the front for it. Or actually, what we're told is the worst things that are happening with Wayne Enterprises are like actually within the company. So like it's not even a front. Like that's how corrupt the whole thing is apparently. And Black Mask of all characters is running Wayne Enterprises behind the scenes. And I won't get too in the weeds with all of this, but he ends up appointing a new president at one point who ends up being Pariah, which is our connection to Crisis. It's very odd. Anyway, so you have Sionis, who is running Wayne Enterprises, and he wants Bruce Wayne dead before he's 18 so that Bruce can't gain control of the company. And Bruce is lashing out after his parents' death, and his only voice of reason is Alfred, who is a very traditional Alfred, and he does not early on make his vow to avenge his parents and fight crime. He's very lost and wayward, and he ends up finding Batman through a completely different direction, where he at first gets thrown into prison and gets a 10-year sentence. And that ends up getting commuted at one point so that he can go fight in Vietnam. Like I said, this starts in the 50s. A lot of it takes place in the 70s. And we do a lot of cool stuff with the 60s TV show aesthetic in the early 70s. That I like a lot. There's a nice juxtaposition here with real dark themes and real lighthearted imagery that I like quite a bit. And White Knight does that too. This is kind of taking some cues from that, I think. It's also taking cues from White Knight in that but I think it goes even further with it. I don't like it as well as White Knight, but some of this is fun, where it's taking lots and lots of screen elements and mixing it in with this. So you've got a lot of 60s Batman aesthetic in the 70s, but you also have, story-wise and character-wise, a blend of Batman Begins, and there is some 89 stuff, I guess more in aesthetic, but there's a lot of Nolan Batman in this. And then you've also got weirdly some Joker, like the Joker movie. And I won't get in the weeds with how we're handling Joker in this, but he is a unfunny stand-up comic like he is in that movie, and I do think it's looking at that. It could just be looking at Killing Joke, but I'm also seeing a lot of that movie in it. And then also Batman Forever, both in costume aesthetic and in what we do with Robin in this, and in that, I'll just spoil this. I hope you don't mind. This is minor enough, I hope. But Chase Meridian is in this, of all characters. So we're mixing in a lot of movie stuff, and like I said, Bruce's sentence gets commuted at one point, and he goes to Vietnam, and he works for Ra's al Ghul. So he's trained by Ra's al Ghul, or Ra's al Ghul, however you like, just like he is in Batman Begins. And the skeleton of the story, at least his character arc, is very Batman Begins. And this is kind of surreal, because I just watched that movie again the other day, and then I come into this. In the background is the looming crisis on Infinite Earths, and it's kind of fun because we're told in the 70s that that's going to happen in 10 years, and it happens like more or less the same time as it does in publication history. So that's kind of fun. But there's this kind of idea in the background that the whole universe is about to be destroyed. So these smaller issues with Batman trying to save his city and stop all of this corruption and fight the war in Gotham. There's a lot of there's a lot of war metaphor with this, where this Batman is much more of a soldier than he's been, more of a soldier than he is a detective or than he is as a ninja, and there's this idea that the Justice League is not interested in saving his city because they're too busy trying to save the universe, which is one of the places I called foul, because if they think, like, they've got 10 years, if they think that they have a chance at solving that more cosmic problem, you'd think that they would care about saving whole cities on the Earth. I wasn't sure I bought that, and I felt like it was throwing Superman and some of the other characters in the Justice League kind of under the bus. But there's like I said, there's this big kind of war motif where Bruce is looking at everything like chess pieces on a chessboard, and he's talking a lot about battle strategy, which is interesting. The idea that war is not about the individual battles that you face, but it's about how you get the other side to move their pieces around. And curiously, what I liked in this book more than the actual story, and I don't know that I've ever said this about anything, is isolated individual platitudes. I don't think I've ever said that before, but there were 4 or 5 places where I actually took my phone and took pictures of panels where I thought this writer had some really profound ideas about, again, aging and mental health and what it means to get old. Like what it's like to feel like you have more days behind you than you do ahead of you. And he's got this interesting line where he says something along the lines of, like, Batman's movie in this, if it was a movie, would be the first act is all these adventures, and the second act is just like an old man sitting around not doing anything. And the idea that the things that you're accomplishing are about inspiring the future before they're about like your own like past and in legacy and all of that. But yeah, he had a lot of like really profound like individual lines, I thought. And I don't think the story culminates into enough. But I found a lot of individual ideas really thought-provoking in this. I think a lot of people are not going to love this costume, and especially the Robin costume. I thought it was fitting enough for the oddness of this piece and the period that it's in, but it wasn't my favorite thing or anything. We do have a really good Batman-Superman relationship in this, where they get along wonderfully from the beginning, and I really bought it, and that was kind of refreshing, honestly. I like the Superman costume, the black behind the ass. I think it's kind of odd that the ass on the cape has yellow behind it when it's black in the front, but whatever. Anyway, overall, I would recommend this, I think, as yet another attempt at totally reinventing Batman, and like starting with the focus in a different place, but ultimately getting him to the mission and the motivation that he usually has. but down the road, I might do a deep dive into this, especially if Austin wants to read it. But like I said, I was a little mixed on the ending. There's a big kind of twist trick ending that I like as an idea, but I don't know if I don't know if thematically it holds up with the rest of it, I guess is what I'll say. Also, the way Batman handles his villains in this is really odd. That's the other place where I kind of cried foul, where there's a place where Batman tells some of his main villains, like Penguin, Riddler, etc. It seems like it's, let me say this real quick. It seems like it's really in vogue right now because they're popular for some of Batman's rogues to not actually be villains. And I'm liking that in absolute, but I kind of don't want too many things to do it. And yet this came before that, so like that's not really fair. But Batman at one point says oh, and this was one of the things that I thought was really profound, if I can remember this sentiment. But he says that he is about the protecting the people that the law won't, and stopping the evil that the law can't. And as long as his villains aren't attacking anyone that can't like with the resources to defend themselves, he will consider that the law's problem and not go after them. And that review that I read today made a really good point. I don't usually read a lot of reviews of things that I'm going to talk about, but I stumbled on this because I was looking for a synopsis just to refresh myself on the events with this, and I stumbled into this review and I ended up reading part of it. And this guy said, "So you're not going to go after the villains if they don't try to hurt people that can't defend themselves, like your parents? Like the richest people in Gotham? Okay. Yeah, I agree with that. That was very strange. For a movie for a comic series that I felt like had a really good moral center through most of it, those two things were very, very strange to me. But again, I was really surprised by the cosmic stuff in this, and I like the idea of that in the background, and of these kind of relative dangers, where for Batman, Gotham is everything, and that feels as big as the cosmic stuff that's going on. And again, the twist ending has to do with that. I just don't know how I feel about it. But anyway, read it on your own if you're so inclined, and come back and let me know what you thought of it. Dan Schneider, $5 super chat. Did you watch the Goyer interview yet? No, I haven't, and I guess I missed that was on video. So I will have to listen to that. I read snippets of it when it came out, and I didn't realize there was actually video you could watch. This one, the one he did for the Begin's 20th anniversary, you really need to watch it before you and Austin cover it on Rewind. Yeah, I'll definitely try to do that, and thanks for the reminder. I appreciate it. Chewbacca's lover, that Robin costume is heinous. Bob the Hun, worst Robin costume ever. Tyler, I hope you really dig into this one on a vault. I found this book fascinating. Yeah, I want to give it another read, because I'm not sure how I feel about it, and the Joker stuff at the end and all of that. But this is the page where that conversation happens that I just mentioned. But I did like the blend of a lot of the movie stuff, and there are cute callback lines. There's a place where Batman says, "Alfred, let's go shopping." But for whatever reason, I liked all that stuff in this. So anyway, that's a quick kind of meandering review of that book. Let's see what else folks are saying in the comments right now. Hopefully I didn't miss any super chats. Chewbacca's lover, I just mean, talking about Spider-Man 94. It's been so long, I don't know if I even care anymore, at least in comics. 13-year-old me would have been. Yeah, like, I'm interested in it as a novelty, kind of like I was X-Men 97 and even the X-Men comics based on that show. By the way, that's the precedent where I feel like there's every possibility we'll still get that show down the road. Because we did it. I mean, it didn't wrap up a lot of stuff, but we did do that in comics also. X-Men 90, 93, 94. Nicholas Bodo, hey Cap, have you read the sequels to White Knight? Not yet, although I did just buy a bunch of them in singles. That's one of the things that I did on my little comic spree. Traga's Lover, an unfunny stand-up comedian, was also in TAS. I kind of forgot that they did that there. Tyler, it's definitely looking at the Joker movie. It's definitely looking at that. Yeah. Dan Schneider, that's been a popular trend to have Batman only stop some crime and everyone. I think some of it is a reaction to the criticism that I think we've kind of overreacted to it. The criticism that Batman is fighting criminals that are mentally ill and not really responsible for what they do. I've always liked the ambiguity of it and the constant question of like how much can we hold these characters responsible for the terrible things they're doing, and how many of them are using that as an excuse to intentionally hurt people. I like that much more as a moral quandary than as a clear black and white issue where Batman just wanting to get revenge about his parents' murder is using every excuse he can to punch people. Like, I don't feel like that's what Batman is at the core, but I do think that he can be misguided and not and look at things too black and white and not appreciate really that on both sides, that there might be sympathy to be had for some of these characters, and then some of them might be even more far gone than he thinks is possible. That Dark Knight idea that not every villain is motivated by anything beyond just wanting to watch the world burn. But yeah, I think we do overcompensate for that too much, and for the idea that he's a rich person going around punching people. So, like Brayden Atkinson just said, yeah, definitely. Okay, the last thing I want to do real quick. I'm already 2 hours. I might as well show these off. I had a few other, like I said, the kind of notable older back issues that I bought in the last few weeks that are pretty cool. And like I said, I've got lots more stuff I can show later on. But let me just go through these real quick. I got 5 or 6 of these. So at the comic shop that I went to in Missouri, he had a really great back wall of Silver and Bronze Age Superman and Batman. And my wife immediately gravitated to that stuff. She doesn't care about current at all. She doesn't like new comics. She thinks they read too fast, and there's not enough that happens in an issue for the price tag. And she is interested in much more escapist, silly stuff. And she gets really excited about this era of stuff, and I told her to pick me out one. So she had me get Action 388, which is in lovely shape for what I paid for it. Spent $9 on this one. And this is a very silly cover that has lots of weird non sequitur, like wrong things on it. It says, "What's wrong with this cover? This is not an April Fool's story." And it has like a red Batmobile. The 60s car looks super cool in that inverted scheme, by the way. That's supposed to be a silly joke, but I think it looks awesome. And then you have a Superman with glasses on, and this is just such a silly cover, with a reversed S, but then with Bizarro that has a regular S, and it's got a Brainiac that says villains for Superman, and it has an orange Crypto the Superdog. It's very odd. I'd never seen this one, so I'm excited to have that. And then that came out in, I think, 68, somewhere between 68 and 70. Then I've decided I'm going to start collecting these, I think. I got really excited about this when I got it. So this is still sealed, And I went and found a scan of this and I read it, but this is the Topps Jurassic Park adaptation from the original movie when it came out. And Topps had the license for quite a while. They did sequels and they're terrible, but they did sequels to Jurassic Park before Lost World came out. And they're in continuity, I guess, with this. So this is the start of a 4-issue miniseries that adapts the movie, and it's cool that it's got that kind of page count to adapt the whole movie, and it's got some differences in it, which is interesting. I mentioned this last night on a stream, but including having Sattler and Grant clearly be a romantic couple at the very beginning. So there's a few things in this that feel like they were probably cut from the movie and we're working from a shooting script or something. But these covers are really cool. I'm going to get the rest of these. So this is one of those sealed comics that has like trading cards and things in it. And the creative team on this is killer and really kind of shocking. So Walt Simonson with Gil Kane and George Perez. Yeah, that's the creative team on this. It's fantastic. So I want to get the rest of those, and I want to start collecting Topps Jurassic Park in general. I got a nice deal on this. I say that. How much did I pay for this? Maybe $10? I can't remember. But anyway, this is Sonic number 10, the old Archie series, and it's just a really pretty, clean copy of that. So I don't collect the Archie series real hard. I do have the first appearance of Metal Sonic, Sonic 25, and so slowly but surely, when I find nice copies of issues from the series with covers I like, I'm going to buy these. But that one's really cool. And then this is one that one of the guys at the shop found me. He ever since he saw my Knights tattoo, he's been looking out for the Knights comics, and he got me the first issue, which is hard to get, and I was really excited that he gave me a good deal on it. And then he found me this one, which is Knights number 5, and he only charged me $1 for this one, which was super cool of him. So I have 2 of these now, and I didn't think I would ever get my hands on this series at all. So that makes me very happy. This was the issue I mentioned earlier that my daughter, Selena, pulled out of a box for me, and I love this cover. She was like, "Dad, do you have that one?" I was like, "No." So I grabbed that. That's Web of Spider-Man 22. I'm not going back and recollecting all of Spawn and singles, but I do love Angela, and I'm slowly buying those back up. So I bought the first issue of Angela, and I also recently bought her first appearance. Have I shown this on camera already? I can't remember. But I bought her first appearance in CGC. I found a good deal on this on eBay. And I'm not actively collecting CGCs, but I couldn't help but grab this one. So I don't know how much more of that I'm going to do, but I did get that. And then I bought an issue of May Parker's Spider-Girl because it's got the female Scarlet Spider, and that's just a really great cover. So I had to have that. I need to finally read this whole series. Jason has read more of this than I have. I read like the first trade, but it's been a really long time. Anyway, let me see what else people are saying before I wrap up here. Bob the Hun, the justification is that Batman doesn't protect rich people's business, even though people are literally burning buildings. Yeah, and the problem I have with that is just, well, yeah, but your parents were rich, and part of the reason you get into this is because of the injustice that was done there. And I get that in that particular version, his parent, he wasn't there when his parents died, and he is motivated by some different things. Like, even the bats come more from his time in Vietnam than they do when he is in Gotham. And he's, like I said, he's just, motivated by some different things. His relationship with Ra's al Ghul, though, is a lot like it is in Batman Begins, where there's a moment where he's supposed to kill a criminal he refuses to kill. Like, he comes to his no-kill rule, kind of ironically, as a soldier, which is really interesting. But I still don't know if I totally buy that. Nicholas Bodo, Black Suit Spider-Man winning the heart of young girls is something you love to see. Absolutely. Um, Jareth Gearhart, sadly my local comic shop moved further away from me and now is mainly a guitar shop. Oh, that's sad to hear. Well, maybe another one will open up since you're underserved now. Okay, let me see who has won top super chat here because we did get a few super chats. And I should have been writing this down as we went. I'm going to assume it's Dan Schneider, but I don't see the other ones that came in. Let me see if I can look at this. 1 second, folks. If your activity. Oh, there we go. Yeah, Dan Schneider put in more than anybody else. So, Dan Schneider, if you are still here, and he just left a comment a minute ago, I'll keep broadcasting for just a couple minutes and see if he puts anything in. And if not, you can just leave a comment on this video and let me know what recent series you want me to sample. So leave it live right now if you can, and I'll announce it for next time. And I can get my hands on just about anything in digital, so feel free to ask for anything in the last 3 years that you want. It can be the start of an ongoing. It doesn't need to be the first trade of something, or it can be a miniseries, or it can be a graphic novel. It can be Big Two, or it can be Image, Dynamite, IDW, whatever you are interested in. I will sample. Doesn't have to be superhero. If at all possible, I mean, you guys know me pretty well. Try to pick a thing that you think I might dig, just because I'll review things I don't like here. I would much rather be able to give recommendations, but obviously I'm not going to know going into a thing if I'm going to love it. So, yeah, those are the things, the kinds of things, Dan, that you are allowed to pick. Nicholas Bodo, so we recommend comics to you. Yes, exactly. That's the idea. And like I said, each show I'm going to let, or at least most shows, I'm going to let the top super chatter pick the next one. And that's a way for you guys to help me broaden my horizons and find out about things I don't know about, or read stuff I might not otherwise take a look at, or just front load stuff that I might not get to for a while. So if you want me to read yet another of the umpteenth Batman things that DC has put out in the last few years, because like 80% of their output for a while was Batman, they're turning that around. That's good. It can be that, whatever you want. But the one big stipulation as we go on that I'm going to make, as I said earlier, is it can't be the next trade in something that I've already reviewed on this program. I want to keep sampling things, and there's plenty of stuff that's come out. So I mean, we could do this forever and still have plenty of stuff. Dan Schneider, does Absolute Superman count, or is it too recent? What issue number are we on with that? Absolute Superman. Just double check real quick. Number 9 comes out in this month. So, yeah, I can do Absolute Superman. I'm not surprised that you're wanting another Absolute book. But, yeah, the first 6 issues are already out for that, and I can read those in digital. So even though the trade's not out, I can still get my hands on it. Nicholas Bodo, can we recommend older comics on this show? Not for the Super Chat winner. I mean, you can certainly mention things to me, and if I'm excited about it, I might look at it. But as far as official things that I will promise to review, you can become a requester at the $15 tier on Patreon, and that would be the way to guarantee that I look in an older comic, and that would be a deep dive, like hour-plus long discussion with Austin. But as far as stuff on this show, I'm just going to do recent trades like I did with Batman Dark Age. Dan Snyder picks Absolute Superman. Perfect. I will talk about that next time. And thanks everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, I think this one is longer than they usually will be, but you guys know me. Who knows? it was a lot of fun streaming for you and a lot of fun chatting with you. I will be back late tomorrow night with a ranked list. I gotta sit down and make it. I haven't done that yet. A ranked list of the DCEU movies to cap off DCEU Mania, which we finished last week. And then Friday night, Austin and I are finally bringing back the Superhero Rewind Commentary Project, and we'll be watching and reviewing Darkman. So, look forward to that, and thanks for watching, everybody. Chewbacca's Lover, I was hoping you and Austin would cover Absolute Superman in a vault. Does this preclude you from doing that? Not at all. Austin and I each go back and forth and pick things for those deep dive reviews. I'm not going to talk about it here for more than 10 or 15 minutes, like I did with Dark Age. Like, obviously, there's a lot more I could have said about that, and I tend to read closer and try to read a couple of times for that show. So, no, anything I do here could come up on that show, especially if it's requested, but also if I loved a thing enough that I want to talk more about it, I might pick it. Austin might pick it. So, yeah, that will almost certainly still end up happening. Austin, if we do that, I'd like to do it later since the first arc hasn't really ended. Is the first arc more than 6 issues? I mean, I'm still fine doing it. Like, if it's not complete, I'll just mention that and say, here's a few quick thoughts about the first 6 issues and whether or not I think you should bother. I mean, that's the main point of these, is just to do sort of a sign flip review, even though, you know, I completely forgot to actually pick up my feeling at sign, and I didn't really say best thing, worst thing with Dark Age. I mean, if I had to pick a best thing, worst thing for that, I guess worst thing would be just the weird moral choices that I mentioned, and the best thing is probably what is the best thing? It's the Batman-Superman relationship. I thought that was really good. So yes, I would flip green on that. Okay, I've now done my due diligence with that. Austin, I like to do vaults on all the Absolute books, though, specifically Wonder Woman and Martian Manhunter. Yeah, me too. Dan Schneider, I think there's enough for you to talk about. There is lore stuff I need to hear your opinion on. I don't mind doing it. That's not too double dipping for me, because like I said, Austin and I will talk about it a lot longer. And it sounds like there's so much interest in Absolute. I don't think anybody's going to begrudge us that. Going ahead and talking about it a little bit now. Nicholas Bodo approves. Good. All right. Well, thank you guys. I'll do that for next time. And I need the excuse to catch up on that book anyway. So thanks a lot for watching, everybody. And in the meantime, see you tomorrow night. I was Captain Logan. And don't forget to support your local comic book store. Good night, folks.